So the first order of business is to get to the only order of business on a Monday, and that is the weekend and rewind. Let's do it. Good weekend, Manchester United, for properly rebounding from a lackluster loss against Sevilla in the Champions League with a pretty lackluster win over Brighton 2-0 in the FA Cup quarterfinals. But that wasn't even my favorite part of this week with regard to Manchester United. Instead, it was Jose Mourinho, their manager, going off in a press conference prior to the Brighton game where he spent a good 10 minutes using his past success and the statistics of Manchester United's past 7 years in Europe to justify why he's doing a good job as manager, and that people need to get off of his back, especially the fans. Check this out.
You know, I say to the fans that the fans are the fans and the fans have the right to have their opinions and to have their reactions. But
Stephen Howson and Adam McCullough, they need to shut their mouths. John Shin too. Whoa, I cannot believe the special one went right after some of my friends by calling them out by their names. So I cannot wait to see how they respond unless they're too scared to. Bad weekend, Bayern Munich. Because with their 2-1 loss to RB Leipzig, who played very well by the way, Bayern's lead at the top was cut to 17 points, so we'll see if they can hold on to win the title with only 7 games left to go. And for those of you that are triggered, it's called sarcasm. Good weekend, Mohamed Salah. After scoring 4 more goals against Watford and assisting on the other in Liverpool's 5-0 win, where do we start with this incredible season of his? Well, maybe we should just start from the beginning, where he scored in his Premier League debut, then he won Liverpool's Player of the Month in his first month with the club, and he's won it 4 other times after that, if you guys are keeping the stats at home. Then he scored a penalty to send Egypt to the World Cup for the first time in like 100 million years. Then he's been the Premier League's Player of the Month twice. He got named as the BBC African Footballer of the Year, and as the Arab Player of the Year, and as the Player of the Year at the CAF Awards. Then he became the second fastest player to 30 goals in Liverpool history, and with his 4-goal output this weekend, he became the first Egyptian to register a hat-trick in the Premier League, and he bested Fernando Torres for the most goals in a debut season for the club, and there are still 2 more months to play, and he says they can beat City in the Champions League and contend for the title next season. The dude is feeling it, and I love it. And now it's time for a public service announcement from yours truly. So please hit that like and subscribe button, then turn on the notifications that look like a little bell, because my predictions for the Champions League quarterfinals are dropping tomorrow. And then the day after that, my predictions for the Europa League quarterfinals are dropping as well. And then my trip to Brazil is gonna start. So this is gonna be an epic week, and I don't want you guys to miss a thing. And now back to our regular scheduled weekend and rewind programming. Bad weekend, Sampdoria. Because they gave up 4 goals in 1 game to Mauro Icardi, who had only scored 1 goal in 4 games in 2018. Not 1 goal in 1 game, loyal subscriber Maxi. Get your facts straight. Are you seeing what he wrote to me here? Are you seeing it? These are lies. Which is unacceptable, Sampdoria, to get back to you, because he and Ivan Perisic are the only 2 players that you really need to mark to really shut down Inter's attack, and you let them both score. Though a hat tip to Mauro Icardi for not only doing what he does best, because when he's on top of his game, he's easily one of the top strikers in the world for me, but because he scored his 100th career Serie A goal, and now he's only 2 behind Ciro, the hero Immobile, as the top scorer in Italy this season. Also, I can't talk about one Milan club without the other, so I want to give a shout out to my career mode club, AC Milan, for coming back from 2-1 down with a goal from Mr. Fantastic, Andre Silva, in the 82nd minute to give Milan the 3-2 win, the full 3 points, a firm grasp of the last spot to qualify for Europe from Italy, and it only puts them 5 points behind Inter for that last Champions League spot, and given Milan's recent form in the league and Inter's too, I think they could catch them. Good weekend, Barcelona. With their 2-0 win over Athletic Bilbao, Barca have extended their unbeaten record in the league this season to 29 games, which puts them only 3 games behind the all-time record of 32 in 1 season set by Real Sociedad in 1980. And it takes them 1 step closer to going unbeaten for a whole season in La Liga, which has never happened before. Also, with Atletico Madrid's surprising 2-1 loss to Villarreal, and it was surprising since Atleti gave up a 1-0 lead with 10 minutes to go, and that never happens. It gives Barcelona an 11-point lead at the top. And then Messi scored another goal to give him 38 in all competitions this season as he gallantly pushes on to win the next Ballon d'Or so he can break his tie with Ronaldo. Though, Ronaldo did just notch his 50th hat-trick of his career and 4 goals overall against Girona this weekend, and Real Madrid's 6-3 thrashing of that club. So CR7 is not going down without a fight, which isn't too surprising. Then on a team note, Barcelona have only given up 13 goals in their 29 league games, which is incredibly impressive, and I take back all the bad things I said about them defensively earlier in this season. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Bad weekend. Mario Balotelli. Despite scoring 22 goals in 30 games in all competitions for Nice this season, the former Italian international did not get called up for Italy's friendlies against Argentina and England, which has to be disappointing for the big man. Also, after criticizing PSG for not qualifying for the quarterfinals of the Champions League by saying, amongst other things, that the problem is money buys you players, but it doesn't buy you a team, Nice and Balotelli lost at home to PSG this weekend 2-1 after being up 1-0, and that's gotta suck too. Good weekend, Michy Batshuayi. Another weekend, another game-winning goal for Batshuayi when he netted the only goal in Borussia Dortmund's 1-0 win over Hanover. Also, it really feels like Dortmund got the best out of that crazy transfer saga that saw Alexis Sanchez, who truly has become less relevant than ever with United, leave Arsenal and then see Henrik Mkhitaryan and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang join the Gunners instead, and then Olivier Giroud joined Chelsea, which made Batshuayi expendable. So Dortmund was probably like, well, thank you very much. We will take him. We have some room for him, and I'm burping, and that probably just took away from this whole thing, but he's been terrific. Bad weekend. Me. Because not only did I get food poisoning this weekend, which made me and my toilet BFFs for about 24 hours, I watched all the Intercontinental Derby between Fenerbahce and Galatasaray, and I want all of those 90 minutes of my life back, even though I felt terrible and I would relive it again, because it was not a great game to watch. But the supporters looked amazing, and I hope to get to one of those derbies one day in the future. And there were some pretty incredible two-footed tackles that the players weren't even being carded for, and I do prefer watching games that are a little chippy and with high emotion. I just wish that the quality would have been better. Though, Roberto Soldado starts for Fenerbahce, so I don't really know what I was expecting, because Roberto Soldado and quality don't really go hand in hand these days. Jokes! Also, Istanbul Başakşehir here with the big winners of the top four this weekend as they beat Besiktas 1-0, which helped them gain points on everyone and move up to second, only 1 point behind Gala at the top. Good weekend, Porto. After their surprising loss last weekend to a team in the relegation zone, which saw the rivals Benfica gain 3 valuable points on them, they got back on track this weekend with a big 2-0 win over Boa Vista, which keeps their gap at the top to 2 points with 7 games to go, and thankfully, one of those games is against Benfica in Lisbon on Sunday, April 15th, which will probably decide which club wins the league and which one doesn't. So mark that date on your calendars, everybody. Just get a marker and circle it. Unless you don't have like a physical calendar, you just gotta use your phone. Then just write something important. Bad weekend, Rangers. A week after getting beat at home by Celtic 3-2 in the Old Firm, they followed that up with another home loss, this time 1-0 to Kilmarnock, which is a shame because Celtic dropped points this weekend too. So had the Rangers even tied the hoops in the Old Firm and then pulled out a win this past weekend, the gap between them would have been 3 points. 3. But alas, the gap is 10 and the league is now officially over. Good weekend, Sporting Kansas City. Because my former club beat my other former club, the San Jose Earthquakes, 3-2 in the former clubs of Jimmy Conrad derby. And the highlight of the game, without a doubt, was my former teammate and current right back for Kansas City, Graham Zusi, cutting in on top of the box and hitting a screamer from 20 yards out into the top corner with his weak foot. It was a great goal in a great game, and I thoroughly enjoyed that 90 minutes, so a thank you to both of my former clubs for that. Bad weekend. All of the semi-finalists of the CONCACAF Champions League. That's right, I'm talking about Club America, who lost at home to Toluca 2-1, and Toronto FC, who lost in the 401 derby to Montreal 1-0, and Chivas Guadalajara, who couldn't score in their 0-0 draw at home against Tigres, and the New York Red Bulls, who lost 1-0 to a Real Salt Lake team that got beat 5-1 the week before by a team named LAFC that's brand new, which proves, yet again, that trying to have success in outside the league competitions while balancing your form in the league is not easy. Also, a preview of these semifinals will drop when I get back from Brazil, so be on the lookout, suckers. Good weekend, the Brisbane Roar, who pulled off the miracle by beating the top of the table leaders of the A-League, Sydney FC, 2-1 in Sydney to keep their playoff hopes alive. And now the sit only 2 points behind the Western Sydney Wanderers and Adelaide United for one of the last 2 playoff spots. And honestly, I think they're going to catch one of them since their last 4 games are against the 3 worst teams and the Wanderers, who sit right above them in the table. So up the bad weekend, Juventus. After what looked like them taking full control of the top of the table in Italy this past week, they drew 0-0 with Spal this weekend. Yes, Spal. The team that has won only 5 games all season, which allowed formerly in first place for most of the season Napoli to gain 2 valuable points on them after Napoli nervously pulled out the 1-0 win at home over Genoa, which puts Juve's gap at the top to 2 points. Also, Napoli play at Juve on April 22nd, which will most likely decide the league, so here's another game for all of us to circle on our calendars. Good weekend, Tottenham. Because week after week after week, there's always someone in the comments saying, oh, why does Jimmy hate Spurs so much? Listen, I don't hate Spurs. In fact, I don't hate any teams, but I do like to give certain teams a harder time than others, but that's only because I have high expectations for them given the quality of their players and their manager. For example, my favorite English club, Newcastle, isn't good, and I know it. So my expectations for them are low, but I still give them shit if they suck it up, especially in games when they should play better than they did. So if clubs like Spurs, or United, or City, or PSG, or Juve, or Arsenal, or Bayern, or Barcelona, or Madrid, or whoever don't play as well as I think they should, I'm gonna let them know about it. And if you happen to support that team, you're probably already feeling defensive about your squad because you know they underperformed. Also, I get the sense that all of you would like me to gush over your favorite team when they beat teams that they obviously should, and it would probably sound something like this. I just wanted to say congrats to Spurs for beating a Swansea team that they should beat because Swansea are terrible, but Spurs look so good doing it, and they did it without Harry Kane, which should be commended. So, way to go, Spurs! You're the best! And a big congrats to the defending league champions and last season's FA Cup finalist Chelsea for beating Leicester 2-1, a team that they should also beat every time they play if they play like we all know that they can. So, way to go, Chelsea! You guys rule! And to Southampton for doing what they should do as well, and that's beating a championship side over 90 minutes. So, way to go, Southampton! Yeah! And to Manchester United for beating a team at home that was recently promoted last season. You guys are world beaters. Wow! Wow! So congrats to all you teams for making it to the FA Cup semifinals. So was that better? Also, how about that draw? Manchester United versus Spurs and Chelsea versus Southampton. My gut says Spurs and Chelsea are going to go through to the final, but maybe I'll change my mind in the run-up to the games. Bad weekend, Sevilla, who are arguably one of the best 8 teams in Europe after making it to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, because that's how it works, right? How far you go in the Champions League determines where you sit as compared to everybody else. After they went to one of the world's most famous stadiums and beat one of the world's most famous teams, but then they can't find a way to beat 12th place Leganes a few days later in La Liga. And I mean, what? How is that possible? SMH, man. Good weekend, Memphis Depay. Arguably one of the most talented players under the age of 25 when he wants to be, scored another big game winner in injury time to help Lyon come from behind and beat Marseille in Marseille 3-2, which is no easy feat, and which closes the gap between these two to 2 points, which is huge because Marseille, who is in third, would qualify for the Champions League if they stayed in this position, while Lyon, who are in fourth, would go into the Europa League. So it's going to be very interesting to see where these two end up. And then finally, good weekend, bad weekend. It's me again. The good? I moved up over 30 spots in our Warm Ballers MLS Fantasy League to 34th, so I'm coming for you, Mr. Sarkar, who remains in the top spot. I got you. The bad? I still suck in the Warm Ballers Fantasy Premier League despite having Mohamed Salah on my team, and that's probably because I don't make him captain. Though, it could be worse for Keith Lee of Flamingo FC, who has finally dropped out of the top spot, and now we currently have a new leader, Robert Horsted, with only 8 weeks left to go. So unbelievable scenes in that table right now. And alright, I think that's it because I'm tired of hearing myself talk. So I will see you all tomorrow for my correct predictions for the Champions League quarterfinals. Later.